Most of us have the wrong expectation on what it really takes to save our marriage. You might think to yourself, going on a trip is going to save your marriage, or you might think, what are these magical words that you can say to your spouse so that they would want to stay with you? And there is no magic words, there is no magic pill, and no trip is going to save your marriage. For some of you, it's going to take a long time, either 1 to 12 months or 12 plus months. And then there's others, it will take you 1 to 3 months or 3 to 6 months. For me and my husband, it took us years for us to be able to finally correctly connect with each other in order for us to save our marriage. And I talked about this in a lot of my other videos. Me and my husband have been separated twice. And at one point, my husband was dead set on getting a divorce. And in today's video, I want to talk about 6 systems you can put in place to get on the road to reconciliation. And I want you guys to watch the video to the end, because in the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to easily put these systems in place and how you can really start to change your mindset, to change your marriage and to save your marriage. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, this is not going to be easy. And if you're not willing to put in the work that's needed or required, you're not going to be able to save your marriage, no matter what you do. You really have to learn new skills, because the old skills, obviously, isn't working. Because if they were working, you wouldn't be watching this video. I actually recorded the systems separate to this intro. I don't know why. I just started going into the systems and I was like, you know what? I need an intro to introduce these 6 systems to you guys. You're probably gonna be wondering why the intro is different from the rest of the video. Well, that's why. But I hope that you guys enjoy the video, and let's get into the video. What's good, y'all? Tasha here. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for coming. And on my channel, I talk all things marriage and getting through separation to save your marriage. Now, the first thing that I want you guys to do is think of your marriage as a system. Your marriage as a whole would be the PC or laptop. You and your spouse are like the iOS system. You two are the thing that keep the marriage working. So the way I like to think of it as is, in your relationship, you don't have problems. You just have a system issue. And there's just something within your system that you need to tweak. So look at this as you're changing your marriage to think more logical about it versus being emotional about it. And just at this stage, we do want to take the emotion out of it just for right now. And I feel like most of us can understand system and the work behind it. You know that the system within your computer helps your computer run. And that's how we're going to think about your marriage. System 1, transitions. We've all been through a transition. We had a baby, we moved in with our spouse, or we got married, we got a pet. Everything that we go through in life is a transition. So even though right now everything seems hopeless, it's not, because your marriage is just going through a transition. So let me ask you a question. What happened when you got pregnant? Some of us might have freaked out if it was an unexpected pregnancy, but for most of us, we figured out how to deal with it. When you become a parent, even though there are many parenting books out there, there still is no manual of how to be a parent, because all of our kids are different. So you figured out how to be a parent. And it's the same thing with what you're going through right now. You just have to figure out how to get through what you're getting through. So think about it this way. Let's say you lost your job. That's transition 1. So you say, okay, well, what do I do now? You make yourself options. You know you can either get another job, or you can go back to school and get a different job. Either way, you have to make a decision. So let's say you choose to go back to school. Well, what do you go to school for? You have to make a choice of what you want to major in. Basically, what I'm trying to say about transitions is you have to make a choice and stick to it. When you're going through a transition, you figure out the how. You can figure out the how now. So you might be separated now. Do you want to fix your marriage, or do you want to get a divorce? I know that sometimes every day it's different. Every day it's like, you don't know if you want to stay in the marriage, or you don't know if you want to get a divorce. But in order to get your marriage back on track, if that's what you want, you have to make a choice. That's the first thing. Make the choice to save your marriage or to not. Because if you keep going back and forth, you're never going to be able to take that first step in whichever way that you're going to go. And you're going to allow someone else to possibly make that decision for you. So your first how in your transition, make the decision. System 2, learn how to self-regulate. When we were babies, we were taught how to self-soothe. And into adulthood, some of us, we learn how to kind of control our emotions. And sometimes we even mistaken us numbing ourselves for self-soothing. So basically, you just need to learn how to control your anger and your emotions. It's already hard when you're going through a separation. But if you don't learn to control your behavior and your emotions, if you do decide to get a divorce and your spouse says something that you know, that he knows is going to trigger you, and you fly off the handle and do something, he can admit that into court. So that's why when we're going through these hard times, we have to control our emotions and our behavior. So with this system, you have to think things through. You can't just act. So first you have to ask yourself, what are your values? What are your beliefs? If your goal is a loving marriage, what does that look like to you? How would you behave in that relationship? How would you treat your partner? And that's how you act. You can argue and say, well, how can I be a loving partner when the person that I'm with is not that way to me? If your idea of a loving marriage is a certain way, don't wait for your partner to change. You change. And that's how you act toward your partner. Because for me, that's how my marriage started to change. I changed first. I didn't wait for my husband to change. I didn't wait for him to do anything. I changed first. I asked myself these questions. What did I want in my marriage? For my marriage? How did I want to be and show up in my marriage? And that's what I started doing before we were together. I made the choice that I was going to save my marriage, and then I started to act accordingly. System 3 is reflective questioning. And basically, this is just being able to understand what your spouse is saying to you and asking questions to make sure that you are hearing them and understanding them correctly. And even here, you have to think about what matters most to you, what matters most to both of you. Are you holding on to something that you actually need to let go of? What worries the both of you the most? We have to use reflective questions in order to truly understand how your spouse is feeling before you just express your own feelings. Which leads me into system 4, active listening. And active listening is just that. You're really listening to what your spouse is saying. And you're using those questions, those reflective questions, and to make sure that you're understanding what they are saying. Don't listen to just respond, but listen to what it is that they're truly trying to say to you. What do they feel as they're speaking to you? Try to leave any conversation that you are having with your spouse on a positive note, even if the conversation itself is not positive. At this time, you just want to look at the positive in everything. And I know how hard that is, but if you focus on the negative, that's what you're going to get. So you have to find the positive in the negative if you want to fix your marriage. System 5, emotional openness. So see, we're not completely leaving out emotions. And for some of you, this is going to be hard because some of you are not open with your own emotions. And maybe you have a fear to truly be yourself in front of your spouse. The lack of openness in a marriage can cause conflicts, and the marriage will eventually break down. There are going to be days when you're going to ask yourself, should you just let it go? Because being open, well, it leaves you open to rejection. Think about being open in this way. Let's say you have a white light coming out of you. That's your emotion. You're trying to show your spouse just how open you can be. And that white light is stretching from you to your spouse. Now, at first, your spouse is going to want to smack it away. They're going to try to push it away as much as possible. But that white light is going to penetrate them. And at that moment, your spouse is going to open up and share with you all of their emotions as you're sharing all of your emotions. You might even start sharing things that you've never shared with each other. And just every time that you talk to your spouse, imagine just all your love, your heart, your joy, like a white light reaching out to them. Allow yourself to be open, and they'll respond in kind. System 6, new behaviors. In order to get a different result, you have to have a different action. As your mind begins to change, your body and your actions are gonna follow suit. So 1, changing the way that you look at the current situation. And then change the way that you talk to and interact with your spouse. And changing your behavior isn't for them, it's for you as well. There's no manipulation here. This is true change. And this is for you to be able to handle any difficult situation that comes your way. So the way that I actually put all of the systems together, I first came up with the decision that 1, I'm going to save my marriage. Then I stopped crying, I stopped begging, and I stopped blaming. And once I became calm, happy, and open, I was able to handle some very difficult things that was coming my way, especially from my husband when we were separated. And then I started thinking towards my husband, like, I really, truly want him to be happy. And then I started acting accordingly. I was sweet on the phone. Even when he tried to get me riled up, I just didn't give in. And every time we spoke on the phone, I did the visualization of the white light coming out of me and into him while we were talking. And no matter what, it's like I just wanted him to feel the love that I had for him. There are gonna be times when you have doubts. I've had doubts. But once you make your decision, just keep moving forward. Keep doing the work that you need to do for yourself. Be aware of your thoughts and how you're feeling, but you don't have to act on those feelings. And allow yourself grace and time. It takes time to make changes. It takes time to change. And it's gonna take time for you to fix your marriage. And these systems that I'm actually talking about is nothing new. They're actually techniques that therapists and counselors use. Now, I'm no licensed therapist and I'm not a counselor. I took classes, but I'm not licensed. So if you do go to a counselor or a therapist, their job is to eventually teach you how to counsel yourself. They give you these tools and techniques to be able to regulate yourself. And then eventually you'll find that you changed your behaviors and you found ways to make yourself feel better so that you can have less friction with your life.